For centuries, humans gazed at birds and clouds, longing to join them in the sky. The dream of flight was a symbol of freedom and adventure, an unconquered frontier. People built wings, leapt from towers, and failed, but the dream persisted. The challenge was not just about flying, but about overcoming the limits of nature itself. It would take patience, intelligence, and relentless perseverance to solve the riddle of flight. This is the story of Wilbur and Orville Wright, two ordinary brothers who turned an ancient fantasy into reality. Their journey is a lesson in family, perseverance, and the power of chasing the impossible. Wilbur and Orville Wright grew up in a home where curiosity was not just encouraged, but celebrated. From their earliest days, the brothers were surrounded by a family that valued learning, exploration, and the pursuit of knowledge. Books filled every shelf, offering windows into distant worlds and new ideas. The Wright household was a place where questions were welcomed, and the search for answers was a daily adventure. Their mother, Susan Catherine Kerner Wright, was a skilled maker and fixer. She could repair almost anything, and her inventive spirit left a lasting impression on her sons. She often built toys and gadgets for them, nurturing their hands-on curiosity. Their father, Bishop Milton Wright, traveled widely for his work and brought home stories, unusual objects, and souvenirs from far-off places. These treasures sparked the boys' imaginations and broadened their horizons. One day, Bishop Wright returned with a simple toy helicopter, powered by a rubber band. When Wilbur and Orville watched it spin and lift into the air, they were mesmerized. That tiny flying machine proved that man-made objects could rise above the ground, planting the first seeds of their lifelong fascination with flight. The brothers were inseparable, always working and playing side by side. Their personalities were different but perfectly complementary. Wilbur was thoughtful, methodical, and serious, while Orville was optimistic, playful, and inventive. Together, they balanced each other, pushing one another to dream bigger and work harder. They debated, argued, and solved problems together, forming a partnership built on trust, respect, and a shared sense of purpose. Every challenge became an opportunity to learn, and every setback only strengthened their resolve. The world around them was changing rapidly. New inventions and discoveries appeared almost daily, transforming society and fueling the brothers' ambition. The spirit of innovation was in the air, and the Wrights were determined to be a part of it. Inspired by their childhood toy, their inventive family, and the excitement of the age, Wilbur and Orville set their sights on the sky. They began to study, experiment, and dream of building a machine that could truly fly. The dream of flight became their shared mission, a goal that would demand all their creativity, perseverance, and brotherly bond. Together, they would change the world forever. The Wright brothers' inventive journey began with printing presses, not planes. They built their own presses, ran a newspaper, and learned to solve mechanical problems together. The bicycle craze of the 1890s led them to open the Wright Cycle Company, where they mastered lightweight construction and balance. Their shop became a laboratory, funding their experiments and teaching them the value of hands-on problem-solving. Most crucially, bicycles taught them that flight, like cycling, required constant control and balance. While others focused on engines or wings, the Wrights understood that true flight demanded mastery of control. This insight set them apart from every other would-be aviator. In 1896, the tragic death of glider pioneer Otto Lilienthal sent shockwaves through the world of early aviation. Lilienthal's daring experiments and ultimate sacrifice inspired a new generation of dreamers, including two bicycle makers from Dayton, Ohio, the Wright brothers. For Wilbur and Orville, Lilienthal's legacy was a call to action, a challenge to solve flight's greatest mystery: how to control an aircraft in the air. The Wrights threw themselves into research, devouring every book, article, and scientific paper on aeronautics they could find. They pored over the works of earlier pioneers like Octave Chanute and Samuel Langley, learning from their successes and failures. Their curiosity was insatiable, and their determination to understand the science of flight set them apart from their contemporaries. But the Wrights didn't just study books. They turned to nature for answers. Watching birds soar and maneuver with effortless grace, Wilbur noticed how they twisted their wings to maintain balance and change direction. This observation sparked a revolutionary idea. If birds could control their flight by warping their wings, perhaps a machine could do the same. Wilbur's concept of wing warping became the foundation for a new approach to roll control, a breakthrough that would change aviation forever. Eager to test their theories, the Wrights traveled to the remote dunes of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, chosen for its steady winds and soft sand. Their first glider experiments, however, were met with disappointment. The gliders failed to perform as expected, exposing serious flaws in the aerodynamic data that everyone else had accepted as fact. Refusing to give up, the brothers took matters into their own hands. Back in their bicycle shop, they constructed a homemade wind tunnel, an ingenious device that allowed them to test hundreds of different wing shapes and sizes. By carefully measuring lift and drag, they gathered their own data, far more accurate than anything available at the time. Their meticulous experiments revealed a startling truth. The scientific tables and formulas that had guided previous inventors were riddled with errors. The Wrights' data showed that the path to flight required a new understanding of aerodynamics. Armed with this new, accurate information, the Wright brothers redesigned their wings and refined their control systems. Every adjustment brought them closer to the dream of controlled, sustained flight. Through relentless experimentation and careful documentation, the Wrights transformed themselves from curious inventors into true scientists of the air. They solved problems that others hadn't even recognized, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. With their newfound knowledge and confidence, the Wright brothers stood on the brink of a breakthrough. They were now ready to build a glider that could truly fly, ushering in a new era of human achievement in the skies. The wind tunnel was their secret weapon. Inside, they tested over 200 wing designs, discovering that long, narrow wings produced the most lift with the least drag. Their third glider, built in 1902, featured these optimized wings and a refined control system. At Kitty Hawk, the new glider soared. Nearly 1,000 successful flights proved they had mastered unpowered flight. They had solved the problem of control and lift. Only one challenge remained: adding an engine to create a powered flying machine. The age of true flight was within reach. With control mastered, the Wright brothers faced a new challenge. They needed a lightweight yet powerful engine to lift their flying machine into the air. At the time, no automobile or motorcycle engine was light enough for flight, so they turned to their trusted mechanic, Charlie Taylor. Working together in their modest bicycle shop, the trio designed and built a custom engine from scratch, using aluminum to keep the weight down. It was a feat of ingenuity and determination, and it would become the heart of their flyer. But the engine was only half the battle. The Wrights soon realized that designing the propellers would be just as complex. They discovered that each propeller blade was essentially a rotating wing, not just a simple screw turning in the air. This insight was revolutionary, and it forced them to rethink everything they knew about propulsion. Using data from their homemade wind tunnel, the brothers experimented with dozens of shapes and angles. After countless tests, they hand-carved efficient propellers from spruce, carefully shaping each blade to maximize lift and minimize drag. Their attention to detail was extraordinary, and it paid off. In late 1903, with their new engine and propellers complete, the Wrights returned to the windswept dunes of Kitty Hawk. They brought with them the Flyer, a fragile-looking biplane, but one that was now powered by their own innovations. The Flyer was a marvel of engineering, with its custom-built engine and handcrafted propellers gleaming in the North Carolina sun. Assembly on the beach was anything but easy. The brothers battled fierce winds, shifting sands and biting cold. Parts broke, tools were lost, and storms battered their camp. Each setback tested their resolve, but they pressed on, determined to see their dream take flight. On December 14th, Wilbur made the first attempt at powered flight. The Flyer lifted off the rail, but quickly stalled and crashed into the sand. The damage was minor, but the disappointment was real. Undeterred, the brothers set to work repairing the Flyer. They reinforced the damaged parts, checked every detail, and waited patiently for the perfect weather. Their perseverance was unwavering. Now, with the flyer ready and the winds just right, the world's first powered flight was only days away, a moment that would change history forever. December 17th, 1903. Cold, windy, and historic. Orville took his place in the flyer, Wilbur steadying the wing. The engine roared, the flyer sped down the rail and, against all odds, it lifted into the air. For 12 seconds and 120 feet, a human-controlled, powered machine flew for the first time. The brothers made 3 more flights that day, each longer and more controlled. Wilbur's final flight covered 852 feet in 59 seconds. Their invention was no fluke. They had truly conquered the air. A gust of wind damaged the flyer, ending the day, but the world had changed forever. The impossible had become reality. The Wrights returned to Dayton, quietly triumphant, but the world was slow to believe. Newspapers doubted their story, officials dismissed their invention. Undeterred, the brothers perfected their designs at Huffman Prairie, achieving longer, controlled flights. By 1905, they had a practical airplane, but recognition lagged. In 1908, Wilbur's public flights in France stunned crowds and silenced skeptics. Orville's demonstrations for the US Army brought fame at home. Suddenly, the Wrights were global celebrities, heroes who had mastered the sky. Their perseverance had finally been rewarded. The Wright brothers' invention launched the aviation age. Their 3-axis control system became the blueprint for all future aircraft. From humble beginnings, they changed the world, connecting continents, shrinking distances, and inspiring generations. Their story is a testament to curiosity, collaboration, and relentless perseverance. They proved that great things can come from ordinary people with extraordinary determination. The Wrights looked at the sky and saw possibility, not limits. By daring to dream, they lifted the world and showed us all how to fly.